The fact that we don't keep track of the characters this time around isn't the only way that this week's Outlander episode deviates from the show's usual formula. There is enough drama unfolding in Jamie's, Sam Heughan, and Claire's, Caitriona Balfe, own timeline to fill more than one episode. So perhaps it's best that we aren't checking in with Roger, Richard Rankin, or Bree, Sophie Skelton. William Ransom, Charles Vandervaart, is the one who steals the show this week, especially after he just heard the startling revelation that Jamie is, in fact, his biological father. Carnal Knowledge, written by Toni Graphia and directed by Lisa Clarke, ultimately has two meanings. William's awareness of his birth circumstances and the literal meaning, which is revealed through Lord John Grey's David Barry. Unguarded confession to Jamie about his between-the-sheets encounter with Claire. These characters can't possibly be ignorant of what they've learned, and some of them manage to handle the news a bit better than others. Following Jamie's escape with John at fictitious gunpoint, which was intended to give him enough time to stay one step ahead of the Redcoats, Claire is left at the Grey house with William, who is struggling to come to terms with the fact that he is a Scotsman. William reveals that the apple apparently doesn't fall far from the tree in terms of hot-bloodedness after questioning Claire about the specifics of his conception, details she is only qualified to answer because she wasn't physically present for the act and can only explain based on what Jamie shared with her, and he storms out of the house, smashing vases, mirrors, and at least one chandelier. It's good to see Vandervaart finally get a chance to show some personality for William, but this isn't it, man. It's the first of many things he'll do in a fleeting fit of rage. Following that initial property damage, William at least appears to be trying to distance himself from his emotions when a brothel employee named Arabella, Sylvia presents, who happens to be standing on the sidewalk, notices his angry outbursts, in which he primarily refers to himself as a bastard repeatedly. Things don't go so well when she invites William inside for a glass of wine and some time to relax. At this point, William is a whirlpool of emotions and erratic as well. When Arabella tries to put a hand on his shoulder, he knocks a glass of wine out of her hand and eventually gets a bite from her in the ensuing altercation. He leaves the room with his symbolic tail between his legs, indicating that he hasn't made the best first impression. The news that Ian, John Bell, and Rachel, Izzy Meeklesmall, plan to get married as soon as they can find someone to officiate the ceremony doesn't make the following day any easier, if only because William is already feeling glum about everything and everyone around him. It's the icing on the cake for William, who seemingly out of the blue punches Ian in the face and then provokes more retaliation by questioning Ian about whether he knew Jamie's true identity. Ian doesn't need much persuasion to defend Jamie with a punch of his own because he thinks that anyone would be fortunate to call his uncle their father. The two soon start fighting and exchanging blows. But when Redcoats step in, William gives him the order to capture Ian. This is a cowardly decision that results in Rachel slapping him across the face for making her violate her Quaker vow of nonviolence. Rachel fixes William with a stern look, refusing to acknowledge the gesture. But at least later on, William is grudgingly willing to use his authority to have Ian released from custody. As Captain Harkness, Adam Jackson Smith, and his men hold court in the sitting room later that evening, openly and disgustingly boasting about their own bedroom proclivities, William finds himself back in the brothel he had just fled from hours earlier. Before Harkness can make his claim, William coughs up his own silver gorget to pay for a night with Arabella because he believes that Harkness's intentions would be tantamount to assault if he manages to obtain her. However, based on the captain's expression, I believe this threat may persist after this week's show. William claims he only intends to be a gentleman once they are in the room and that he has vowed to let his companion sleep. However, Arabella, who later discloses her true identity as Jane, takes matters into her own hands by asking William to sleep with her and then having sex with her in spite of his denials. This week feels particularly burdensome for William because it's his first time. Before the truth is revealed and the episode title is omitted, the two men ride their horses all the way out to the woods, and Jamie has his hands full with John as his fictitious hostage. When John makes it clear that he and Claire were both imagining Jamie the entire time, Jamie delivers the first punch of the episode. At first, It looks like Jamie might be responding well to the revelation that his wife and his longtime friend slept together, having thought he was dead at the time. By the time the opening credits roll, John has received a severe beating, as they say in Outlander, and he has undoubtedly improved in appearance when a squad of patrolling rebels breaks up his altercation with Jamie. Jamie, who is probably still upset about John and Claire's involvement, is more than willing to give John to them with the understanding that he will only be held as a prisoner. However, a problem arises. More on that later. Jamie not only has a fun encounter with Ian while he is in Redcoat custody, but he also receives a new job from George Washington Gary Fannin himself. As it turns out, the general is so impressed by Jamie's efforts to support the rebellion that he offers Colonel Fraser command of his own battalion and, if Congress agrees, a promotion to brigadier general. Jamie then takes action to punish William for retaliating against Ian. If William doesn't release his nephew, Jamie threatens to blackmail his son by disclosing his true origins to his fellow officers. Their conversation is probably not the best beginning to these two trying to have a real relationship, but it is nothing compared to the one Jamie must have with Claire as soon as he returns to the Grey House. 10 uninterrupted minutes between husband and wife as they move around the house. First upstairs to Claire's room, where Jamie requests to hear all the naughty details about what transpired between her and John that night, and then back downstairs to the sitting room, where Jamie confesses to the jealousy he will always have regarding his wife. Make the scene that follows feel almost like the equivalent of a play. The fact that Heughan and Balfe are able to make this pivotal scene as captivating, tragic, and romantic as it ultimately turns out to be is a testament to their skill with these characters. It's not an easy conversation, and Jamie interrupts it a few times as he tries to figure out why Claire and John might have reached for each other while he was away. Therefore, it is understandable that at the end of the day, Claire and Jamie simply want to make love on the dining room table. The best way they know how to do it.